Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, today is Friday. It's November the 14th, and it's been quite an interesting week. We had a giant cold front come through 2 days ago. It dropped the water temperature 15 degrees, and you know I've told you time and time again what happens when that water temperature plummets over 10 degrees. It really slows the fish down. But that day that it actually hit, just 3 days ago, we were fishing Headwaters, and what a day! It hadn't gotten really cold. The water temperature was still in the mid 70s, and the fish must have known there was a giant cold front coming because they bit like crazy. And I had a guy, and I asked him, one of the first things I asked a guide party is that, what's the biggest fish you've ever caught? What's the biggest one? And so he said, well, his biggest one was 9 pounds. Boy, if he could just get one close to 9 pounds, he'd be so happy. But in the meantime, I go to one of my favorite holes. It's one of these big deep pits at Headwaters where we have there's 17 big deep giant pits there that that are dug out that have either gotten gravel or sand for the construction, and then there's all sorts of irrigation ditches everywhere, and of course the grass and hydrilla as well. And so he wanted to just fish shiners, I'd been out with Tom Jackson last week, and we were catching all sorts of bass on swim jigs and chatterbaits, and that was fine. I said, listen, we got a lure bite if you want to fool with it, but we probably won't get much over 6 or 7 pounds. He said, no, I want a really big one. I want a really big one. I want to go after a nine or 10 pounder. Well, as far as 9 or 10 pounders go, it's fallen off a little bit with the pressure that we've had on Headwaters now. 4 years ago, I got quite a few more 10-pound fish. And then 3 years ago, it was about half as many. And then this year, I'd only gotten like 4 bass for the whole year over 10 pounds with my guide parties. So what happened the other day at 9:30 in the morning, the wind it's cold. We're bundled up. I have every single coat on that I got. I mean, it's like 40 something degrees, blowing like crazy, but the water's still cool. I mean, it hasn't gotten cold. It hasn't gotten, the water really hadn't chilled way down. And so we throw a shiner out there, and he's a real nice guy, this guy. And he says, you catch a fish. I said, no, I don't want to catch fish because, I might have a big one, hook a big one. I want you to catch the big one. So fish had been kind of nibbling and kind of playing with it, dropping it and stuff. And I threw a shiner out in the deep water, and all of a sudden one went, donk. I said, and it started running with it. I said, you need to take this one. I think it's a big one. I'm not sure. He said, no, 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 you take it. You take it. You take it. It's fine. I said, no, no, no. If it's a big fish, I feel like really bad if it's a big fish. He said, okay. And kind of reluctantly, he sets the hook on this fish. Over 10 pounds. I have a beautiful photograph of this thing. It's just the most gorgeous bass you've ever seen in your life. And to make it really, really stand out, they have this new Bubba scale, and this Bubba scale is what they use in the Major League Fishing contests, where they weigh the fish and release them, in the water. And this Bubba scale is very, very accurate. And sure enough, it was slightly over 10 pounds, and this Bubba scale showed it just perfect. And there's a Florida trophy catch, and so what I did was I took the fish and hung it on the scale and took a picture of the fish. You could read this. You could read the scale, over 10 pounds, and see the fish. And nothing's holding the fish. I'm not pulling down on it. I mean, you just see the fish. And so that's what they want for the Florida trophy catch. And as far as length, you got to measure it as well. And so anyway, that's a neat deal because you get a beautiful certificate from the state of Florida, number one. And then also from Bass Pro Shop, you get a gift, like about $100 worth of gift certificates and stuff. It's really cool. One guy, in the end of the month, they draw a special drawing, and one guy won a $4,000 trolling motor that I had a Florida catch with, and he won, in addition to the other stuff, he just won this great big giant trolling motor. Anyway, it's been really good. Well, then what happened? You have to remember now, this cold front hit. It was just a really devastating cold front. I mean, I'm talking about 50-mile-an-hour winds, 40-mile-an-hour winds. I'm talking about trees going down. I'm talking about it's almost freezing, and the water really went down, and it didn't go down just 5 degrees like you can handle 5 degrees. It didn't go down just 10 degrees. It dropped 15 degrees. Now, 15 degrees just shuts fish down. So here I said, well, I'm going to come over to Okeechobee and kind of check it out. And so here it is Friday. So about Wednesday, I came over here to Okeechobee. And oh boy, I went out and I fished all day. And it was pretty tough. Actually, I fished Thursday. I fished all day Thursday. And it was also the day that the BASS had their elite qualifying tournament. In fact, it's going on right now. It's just the weigh-in was just completed, and it was a very, very low weight yesterday. And that's when I went out to practice. I did catch about 5 or 6 bass. It went about 10 or 12 pounds, which in that tournament would have put me in the top 20 because they didn't catch much anything. One guy had 23 pounds, one guy had 21 pounds, and then it went way down. And like 12 pounds made the top 20. 11 pounds made the top 20. So that was way, way off. And today they had another repeat, and I think one guy had a 24-pound string, another guy had a 21-pound string, but then it went way down. 35 guys, I think 30 or 35 didn't weigh in a fish. So it was really a tough fight. It's coming along though. Here's what happened today. I kept watching with this guy. This guy that I fished with was this guy Randy Bryant. Randy and I had fished Headwaters a couple times. He had the most sensational luck one time when they were pumping water. And I maybe told you this story. This was the guy I had today. He took a Carolina rig, and that current that moves out into Farm 13 from the Garcia Reservoir. He made 10 casts in a row, and in that 10 casts, he had 10 bass, all over 5 pounds, from 5 to 8.5 pounds, in 10 casts, all over 5 pounds. Every single bass over 5 pounds, 5 to 8.5 pounds. It was the most sensational day he's ever had in his life, and it was the most sensational. I've never seen anybody catch 10 big giant bass ever either. So it was a really sensational time. So that we've been back several times since, and we haven't equaled that. He's a regular customer of mine, and does a lot of offshore fishing with the big boat as well. Anyway, today was really a tough day. We went out, Randy and I and his stepson. We went out and we tried really hard. We caught about a dozen bass and a couple catfish, and it had maybe close to 4 pounds, but nothing really big. Our best 5 with the 3 of us together probably wouldn't go 12 or 13 pounds. So that it wasn't much. It was just kind of really tough. But I really think it's going to be a better day. In fact, Randy said, please, Roland, because I got a guide trip tomorrow. He says, please, if you would, call me, because all indications are that now the water temperature's gone from the low 60s like it was yesterday morning, like 61, all the way up to 71. So it's come up 10 degrees. And tonight it probably won't go down but a couple degrees. So tomorrow the water temperature ought to be up in the mid 70s, and that's game on. Now, temperature of these people ask me all the time. They say, I'm from Minnesota, and gosh, we catch fish when it's 40 and 50 degree water temperatures. I said, yeah, and I do too. I fish those areas. I fish to the north, and I've spent many, many, many times fishing the northern reservoirs and northern fish. But yeah, I catch them at 40-something degrees. I catch them at 50 degrees, but not here in Florida. You do not catch fish in 40-degree temperatures or 50-degree water temperatures. You do not catch bass here on Lake Okeechobee. It's a complete wipeout. But it very seldom gets that cold. This cold front here is short-lived. It was just happened to be, unfortunately, when they had this big qualifying tournament for the Elite Series. It was bad that they did. But anyway, there'll be another big tournament tomorrow, another big day tomorrow. And there are a couple of guys, I think they're using forward-facing sonar. I think they're fishing deep in these channels and getting a few fish that we're just not seeing in that shallow water. And basically, I fished shallow water today. I didn't fish the deep water. So I know there's probably a few honey holes, and there always is. Every single tournament I've ever fished, somebody catches them. There's always somebody that figures out something that nobody else figured out. Anyway, we stayed with the shallow water today, and it was a struggle. And tomorrow might be a lot better. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And listen, hey, if you would, I don't know if I've told you a whole lot about what's going on right now, except for the water temperature. I would want to show you one thing. There's here in Okeechobee, when it is warmer, there's a couple things that are working. Number one, we did catch 3 or 4 bass today on this white chatterbait, so that was kind of cool. And I had a trailer on a Fish Lucky trailer, and that was a good deal. I happened to throw this one on a spinning rod. This is on a spinning rod with a 30-pound line, so that was one good combination. Another good combination is this regular swimming worm. Another great big worm that I'd use from Fish Lucky, and it's just a great big giant worm that really works good. And I'm just throwing it out there. Basically, I'm making just a real long cast with it, and just kind of I'll reel it by the reeds and just kind of drop it. And again, we caught a couple bass on it today, not a whole lot, but that'll get a lot better. The swimming worm thing is going to be a big deal. And then for another killer deal is this swim jig. Now, a garfish or something came up and took my trailer off. I normally had a trailer. There was a Fish Lucky deal, and it tore my trailer all apart. So I need to put another trailer on. But it was a black and blue jig, 3/8 ounce. It's called a swim jig, and I'm swimming it through the grass, the joint grass, the Kissimmee grass, as you might call it. And again, we caught a couple fish on that. But we only caught a dozen or so bass, so we didn't catch a lot of bass. It was just kind of a slow day, and it'll get a lot better. Okeechobee is a good lake when they have the right water temperatures. It's all very fine, and it can really work. Well, I hope I told you a few things about what's happening this week, and of course the cold fronts and what it does to the lake. And listen, if you would hit that likes button, because that's the juice that makes it all happen. That's what Bass Pro loves to see. And my Booyah people. And by the way, my Booyah, I've got my boat all clean, and it's because of the Booyah Clean. It's just been a great product. And it's not a brand new boat. It's 4 years old, 3 years old. Anyway, hey, listen, folks. Hey, I hope I taught you a few things about some fishing here in South Florida. We'll see you again soon. And hey, thanks for watching.